Hi, I'm Ted with Everything Attachments. We're today with our Landshark series of rotary cutters. This particular one is the exact same cutter at this time that we're currently selling as an Everything Attachments cutter. The only difference being that is Caterpillar yellow. The Landshark series is all Kubota orange. But it's been a great, we only came out with it in the very end of fall last year, so it's only been in production about 4 or 5 months. And we've sold 40 or 50 of them, had absolutely great results from them. Everybody really likes them. We've taken a lot of the things, we're just like a car dealership or something. We do compare our implements to other ones, just like Chevrolet compares to Toyota, vice versa. And it's okay to do comparison. I don't want to get into the campaign part of it where I'm just going to say theirs is no good, because Land Pride stuff is very good and it's very well engineered. But some of the things we do at Everything Attachments that's different from the Land Pride, we'll point out as we go around. So this has a 10 gauge deck on it. It's a 72-inch cut. It has a 75 horsepower heavy duty gearbox on it, and it has a class 6 drive shaft on it, which is extremely heavy for this size cutter. Also, the main plate that this is on, what we did was you gain strength by bending your angles and making a channel. But we wanted to lower the gearbox a little bit more on this model to get the blades down lower to the bottom of the cutter, since this has over a 9-inch tall deck on it. So we did about a 45-degree angles on it, but we increased the metal thickness to a full 1/2 inch. So it's way stronger than a 3/8 piece that's cut, because what happens on a bigger tractor, most bigger tractors have independent PTO instead of a 2-stage clutch where you can control how fast you start the rotary system. And some people start it too fast even with a clutch. It's just simply like dropping the clutch on something, and you don't want to do that. In some independents, you can't control how fast it engages. Some of the older Ford ones, if you didn't have a slip clutch on it and you engaged your PTO on an old Ford 4000, it simply engaged so hard that it would take the gearbox and bend the main plate that it's on, because it would twist it. So we've put a 1/2 inch thick plate there to keep the gearbox from being able to be twisted over. We've put you a blade hole here where you can get to the access for your blades with an impact wrench or something when you get ready to change them or sharpen them, to make everything convenient for you. We've really braced it up nice. We've left all the water holes in it for everything to drain. And like on Land Pride's deck, Bush Hog's deck, a lot of the rounded backs, they do a radius on the back of it. And that's nice, but it's a very expensive process, and we're a small company. So turn us on around here a little bit, Scott. Another thing we do go ahead, instead of making it an option, we do go ahead and put on the bolt-on slide, because it's a thick deck, and you're going to be sliding in the pasture a little bit. So we do go ahead and include that at no extra charge on the slide there. So on the back, we overlap these two pieces about 3 inches. On the Land Pride, all the welds, they're able to make this a mold that comes down to about here, and then they weld a flat piece to it. But it's only welded on the outside. When you weld it on the inside and the outside, it becomes over twice as strong. So when big stuff hits this deck, it's not that I've come in here, I've been here since I was a kid, and I've seen Bush Hogs that look more like airplanes where the sides have been folded out like wings from so much stuff hitting them. And that's not what we want. So we've double lapped this here where it takes its main hits. We've welded this inside and out everywhere. There's no stitch welding on this cutter. Everything's solid welded, even the slide on the bottom. And there's no just one-sided welds. So this piece here, instead of folding down, we bring all the way up, put a big bead right in here all the way around, a big bead on the inside, and it's simply stronger. And it's a process we can do without the expense of stamping that round into it, which is fast and cheaper to do once you do 10,000 of them. But we're not that big of a company yet by far. On the back here, we even went, because we form everything and we can cut on angles, we even went to the trouble, instead of stopping it right here and making it square, we brought it all the way to the very edge where it gets all of its strength and have an angle on it right here where we weld all this together so the back gets the strength from the tube also. We use a laminated tail wheel that's been flawless. We've had no problems out of those. I'm definitely not a fan of the rubber donut type wheel. 3 to 5 years, the sun gets to them, they rot off. I've seen this type of recycled tire wheel last 20 plus years with no problem. It has a double piece welded in here to give this pin a cantilever to make it strong. All the bracing here is 1/2 inch. You've got a lot of adjustments here from like a 1/2 inch cut all the way up to about 8 inches. And then you just control your floating with the front pins there. Right now, for safety and all, some manufacturers, whether you want a steel band, the rubber, or the chains are an option. Right now we're putting on the steel band. We're considering adding the option of the rubber belting. The chains, if you're for a municipality, the chains are kind of expensive. If you're a municipality or something and you require chains, it just happens to be that the holes in the back and the front of this cutter are identical to a Land Pride cutter, so you could always buy a set of chains from Land Pride and put them on, because currently I don't have chains available. So you can see we put a nice round back on it. We've kept the blades at the right distance away, and we've left about 7.5 inches in the front. So even if you didn't have your cutter on, it gives you a little bit of safety margin there from not getting in the blades. We've put a nice wedge bracing here of 3/16 and made that nice and thick. We're putting a good electrostatic coat of paint on it. We're using, this color is easy to get, and you can get paint starting in the $20 a gallon range. But simply because we do build inventory versus build to order, so it may sit on our yard for 3 weeks or 6 weeks, hopefully not. But we do have, we pay about $50 a gallon for this paint because it has a lot more pigment in it, and it has like sunscreen in it basically to keep it from fading over the years. So it should last, 5 or 7 years and still have a glossy look if you're leaving it outside. If you're able to leave it inside, that's good for you. We've even cut slots in the back here on this band to let all the water drain off. So we've gone over this cutter. We've looked at all the cutters. We've looked at the Bush Hog. We've looked at the Land Pride. And we just took the best of everything and put it together as one piece to make it a little better. We do have a new IT guy, Scott. He's here to help Nate, and it's going to help us. We'll be back in the field Saturday doing a post hole digger video. So when you're hooking this to your 3-point hitch, you want to adjust your rear wheel about at the height you want to cut, and then you want to use your tractor 3-point to keep your rotary cutter level. Now the ground, as it goes up and down, that's why this link is on a pivot, because you don't want it to be tight, because if you go over a knoll, it's going to pick the back of your cutter up, and so you want it to ride the land. So you would normally run this at about a 45 degrees. If you've got a big tractor, it lifts really high. Make sure that when you lift it all the way to the top, that you haven't put too much slack in this, letting the cutter sag backwards and letting your drive shaft hit right here. And if you go to full up position, adjust this so if you go to full up position, that this won't hit your drive shaft. This is a Class 6 shaft. It's a super heavy shaft. It's heavier than anyone else is using in this range. Has the clevis hitch. Another thing good, we went to the trouble to put a nice little pocket here to leave your shaft resting in. A lot of them used to come where we just hook the safety chains, which are meant to keep the outside shield from turning. Usually around here on the lot, we would just simply hang them here around the pin. But if they sat around for a long time and the drive shaft got a little brittle, they would break, okay? If they didn't break while we moved it around, when the customer would haul it home and it's hitting bumps the whole way home, then almost always it would break that from the bumps on the road. So that's not a good way to do, is hang it from the chain. Land Pride uses a hole in the end of this with a big hook. And that, to me, it's always in the way when I'm trying to hook it up. I just don't like it. It's not a good way to hang it, in my opinion. It also holds the shaft at an upward angle, letting the water and stuff go down through there when it rains. So I like to keep the shaft angled down. Now, if I'm going to haul it, if it's not on the tractor, one of two things. I'm either going to pull the half a shaft out, reinstall it when I get there, or I'm going to hook these two chains together to make sure that this doesn't slide out going down the road. We do have the clevis hitch on it. It's got a little brace back here to keep everything strong, make it easy to hook up. And we've just done everything we can do, from looking at all the different cutters that are made that are in the top 5%, and tried to make ours a little better at a reasonable price and ship to you. So give us a call or an email at Everything Attachments, and we'll be happy to help you.